Yo, yo, Samantha Delgado, present. Welcome to my show, American Dream, more like American Scheme. Today I am going to discuss how the American Dream is rigged, uncovered through a 1925 novel by American writer F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. Furthermore, in this novel, Fitzgerald is attempting to look at the patterns of immorality inherited from grand collective wealth to obtain the American Dream in all its carelessness. But first, let's start with some background on the 1920s and the American Dream in general. Supposing any and everything in America was being reinvented, the Roaring Twenties, everyone praying to get as rich as possible, shifting from a dream towards opportunity to materialistic possession. Progression of new inventions and organizations generating a new way of life sparked motivation in this period to be the best time to achieve the American Dream, a dream surrounding money, essentially. Let's now take a look at what exactly F. Scott Fitzgerald is saying about the American Dream in The Great Gatsby. The money in this novel has been split between old and new money. We see this separation among two main characters, Jay Gatsby and Tom Buchanan. This example can be taken into consideration towards how the American Dream is rigged, as Gatsby's American Dream is defined with regard to achieving love from Tom Buchanan's wife, Daisy. Although Daisy loves Gatsby, I love you now. Isn't that enough? I can't help what's past. I did love him once, but I loved you too. It is evident that she didn't love him enough to sacrifice her luxurious, materialistic life. Her respect to Gatsby got lost in the dominant respect old money people had during this time, as we see with her husband Tom. Tom displays a sense of control over their marriage, which was common among old money people, and due to Daisy's materialistic needs, she ends up with whom she does not really love, in a way perceiving materialistic control, continuing her marriage by dishonest means. When times get tough, Gatsby is put aside, and in a way Daisy knows all along that she is never going to leave Tom for Gatsby, although for a short period of time she catches herself in the possibility of escape to live the life that Gatsby dreams of, although she never truly believes it as much as he does. Even though Daisy is in an unhappy marriage, she and Tom weren't unhappy either. There was an unmistakable air of natural intimacy about the picture, and anybody would have said that they were conspiring together. As we see in this quote, Tom takes the win in this situation because of his money, and we expect from Fitzgerald's description to this character of this, one of those men who reached such an acute limited excellence at 21 that everything afterwards savors an anticlimax. Another example of the knocked-up dream Americans hope to achieve in this novel appears with the same concept surrounding old and new money. Specifically, in this scene, Gatsby is invited by the Sloanes, a group of old money people, to their house. The Sloanes discreetly hope Gatsby declines, despite his great hospitality and luxurious home he had them over at. These old money people still hold insincerity towards Gatsby. As Fitzgerald sympathizes with his character, they trotted quickly down the drive, disappearing under the August foliage, just as Gatsby, with a hat and light overcoat in his hand, came out in the front door. We readers sense this carelessness of wealthy people, and this example illustrates that Gatsby's great ability to transforming his dreams may be distraught, with him being let down by others for not being of their class, corrupting any and every dream because of money. Relatively adding on to the patterns of immorality, Fitzgerald illustrates to attain great wealth is the idea of stimulation to the American dream through capitalism. Taking it back to Gatsby's background, where we see he changes his whole identity to become a part of the wealthy people's individuality. James Gatz, that was really, or at least legally, his name. He had changed it at the age of 17, where before changing his name to Jay Gatsby, he was a poor person unhappy with life. I suppose he'd had the name ready for a long time. Even then, his parents were shiftless and unsuccessful farm people. His imagination had never really accepted them as his parents at all. Moreover, later developing hope towards his dream through the symbol of a green light. Believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us, as he quotes, eventually failed him. Given no inheritance to wealth, as we see he worked for his success, despite the wealth he created for himself, society never really accepted him, nor his money, evident through Tom, the Sloanes, and his overall guests. Gatsby is a man who barely seems to exist beyond the rumors about him, preferably true through numerous accusations and comments made by guests and other people. Somebody told me that they thought he killed a man once. It was more that he was a German spy during the war, as his guest suggests. Tom immediately assumes Gatsby is some bootlegger when hearing about him. I didn't hear it, I imagined it. A lot of these newly rich people are just big bootleggers, you know? Okay, moving forward. Fitzgerald displays symbolism of the green light, creating an argument of what it means for Gatsby. Essentially, this green light represents Gatsby's hope and desire for money, or Daisy. It can be argued that Gatsby's desire for money may have overpowered his love for Daisy in a way psychologically, meaning he realistically cared more for money to attain his American dream than Daisy. This can be argued through Fitzgerald's perception of money acting as a tool. Her voice was full of money, Gatsby quotes, representing Daisy's means for wealth only to him. Uncovering this concept, the narrator Nick describes Daisy's voice differently. She had the kind of voice that ears follow up and down as if speech is an arrangement of notes that will never be played again, following with her voice to be seen with human element to Nick, interpreting what this example sets for how rigged the American dream can be, with a desire for great wealth being manipulative to, again, materialistic control by dishonest means. Gatsby's intention may have realistically been to attain completion of his great successes with truly getting everything he wanted through Daisy's love, painting a picture for him and what his desire was really for, money. His dream must have seemed so close that he could hardly fail to grasp it. He did not know that this was already behind him somewhere back in that vast obscurity beyond the city where the dark fields of the Republic rolled on under the night. Fitzgerald quotes, "Despite Gatsby's stretch to reach the green light, coming from nothing to something, he failed." In this novel, money depicts the American dream overall. This is clearly apparent through every character after Gatsby and his dream dies. Ultimately, the audience views every character through their inheritance of wealth. Nick works with bonds, Tom and Daisy have inherited money, and Jordan's wealth comes from her successful golfing career developed to prior inherited wealth from her background. In the end of this novel, every old money character gets away from the situation they've created to be destructive of others' lives. Daisy, Tom, Jordan, and Nick. We see this as the character Myrtle Wilson dies. George Wilson loses his wife to not only death, but long before to Tom, as he meets her materialistic needs, and Gatsby loses Daisy to Tom as well. Ideally, old money characters move on with their lives, maintaining their wealth and power, but the American dream for others is crushed. In conclusion, it is very clear that by the end of this novel, what Fitzgerald accounts the American dream to be about is the patterns of immorality inherited from grand collective wealth to obtain this dream of a carefree life surrounding money. What's more interesting is that the idea surrounding how rigged the American dream can be is in every character of this novel going further in depth. Because essentially, this dream revolves a life set toward success, but not happiness. Well, it's been fun chatting with you today about this very important topic we can all agree to go on about, not only in The Great Gatsby, but also in the real world. We can see the same theme occurring in our world today. For example, look at communities growing economic imbalance and poverty versus wealthy people doing the bare minimum to support the cause, ultimately leading the role of social unrest, protests, etc., all supporting one's desire to achieve opportunity and feed to one's dreams. Of course, needing this big fight and striving hard because wealthy people carry this big dominance over the underclass, oppressing the American dream for them. The flawed logic of America continues today, and many of higher power put on a face through donations and events which in reality don't change much for the poor communities as a whole.